How's it going, everyone? Back today with another video. It's taken me forever to get around to getting this thing done. Again, mega busy. Life's just getting in the way at the minute. But I assure you, I have no plans to stay away. You'll always see my ugly mug coming back every now and then to give you some more recommendations. God knows what. The shit that I'm normally doing, basically. I did appear on Questy's channel not too long ago, so I have been kind of milling around in this sector still, but just in case you missed that, yes, I'm not dead. Today is my last day as a 27-year-old. I've avoided the 27 club, so yeah, birthday tomorrow. And also, I've just broken the 3,000 subscribers mark, so I figured, why not? If you don't want to watch England get smashed by Spain later on, I'll give you the option to watch me instead. So yeah, back with a kind of list for today. I thought I would do something slightly more special than just like a collection update for today's vid. With all the occasions coming up and everything, I figured why the fuck not. So today, as you all have seen in the title, I'm going to be doing my top 30 extreme metal albums of all time. So a lot of these in here will not be surprising. They'll pop up on most people's lists. Also, I haven't really put in an enormous amount of thought into this. It was just the shit that rattled off into my brain from the heart. These are my favorites. These are the ones I'm picking up the most. I will have forgotten stuff that I do love. This won't probably like correspond with lists that I've done previously in terms of like top 10 black metal albums lists and things like that, because I find these things as I'm going on through this channel, it's a massive mood thing. So yeah, it's never going to be the same regardless of when I like do it and stuff like that, or depending on when I do it. But yeah, one album per band as well, so you're not gonna see like 6 bolt thrower albums in here, because that's boring. It's way too easy to kind of do that, and it's also way too easy to miss bands if I'm going to be doing that, because lots of these bands have a fantastic discography across the board. Now that the housekeeping's out the way, thank you very much for all the support. The 3,000 subs is absolutely insane. I cannot believe I've hit this mark. Whenever I just nearly dropped my pen there if you're wondering what the Twitch was. I always say, like, I literally would have been happy with 50 of you guys coming here and watching and commenting and stuff like that. But the fact that so many of you have stuck around, continue to support, comment, and subscribe is absolutely insane. So yeah, my gratitude, my sincerest gratitude goes out to you lot. Yous are fucking awesome. Keep the conversations going, because I love kind of responding to you all. Thank you to a bunch of channels who have also been supporting me for all this time. So we've got guys like Dave from Cavernous Carnage, Johnny Mac from Rock and Metal Plus, Sean Beast, who has only recently started his channel, but even still, he's been around for the full whack. Gordon from the Black and Hymns channel, Dylan, fucking Modern Red, Drucifer. I've missed a bunch of guys, Aussie Matt. Yeah, I'm missing loads of you guys. Roger Kjovic. Yeah, you know who you are, basically. So yeah, now that that's out of the way, enough of my rambling. I've been doing that for fucking 4 minutes already. I'm just going to get straight into it. Headless Beer, as is Norm over here. Or The Norm, I haven't named it. I'd probably pick a more kind of memorable name than Norman if I was going to. But yeah, number 30. I don't know why I picked 30. I just figured it would be better, just slightly longer form video. I'm not going to say too much about these, and also the dates and information I've not noted down properly. I've done a couple of them just to kind of try and stick them in my head, but most of this is off the cuff. Anything I get wrong, just correct me. I don't mind. I never claim to be an expert. Number 30. Chainsaw Dismemberment from 1999. This is Mortician out of New York, and this is their sophomore full-length album, after Hacked Up for Barbecue. This one has stuck with me ever since I listened to it. I absolutely love this thing. The absurd drum machine, the really grumbling, low, kind of inhuman growls, the insane bass tone and guitar sound, bludgeoning, the sound clips, the artwork, everything about this. Every track's memorable. This is great. Go and check it out if you haven't already. Mortician, Chainsaw Dismemberment at number 30 there. Oh dear me, I'm gonna not faff around with all that shit today, because none of you came here to watch that, or maybe you did, I don't know. Yeah, so the next one, from 1993, I believe, 29, Disembowelment, Transcendence into the Peripheral, cavernous, kind of dense and like reverberating death doom out of Australia. Really low growls, lead work is stunning. I always describe the kind of lead sound as sounding like dewdrops or like cave slime or something dripping off stalactites. Really, really cool sound. Sounds like you're in a cave, and it sounds very uneasy. It almost gives me like a Lovecraftian vibe, just the atmosphere. But yeah, that's my brain just from reading Lovecraft. But yeah, I love this thing, man. Transcendence into the Peripheral by Disembowelment. Just realised I forgot to tell you what's on the background, so I'll tell you that at the end, as long as I remember. Next up, the band I mentioned earlier, number 28. This is Bolt Thrower with the Fourth Crusade. I cannot remember for the life of me when this one came out. 1992, thank God it said on the back there. Saving my arse. This is Bolt Thrower doing what they do best. Absolutely fantastic death metal. You can hear the kind of hardcore influence in the drumming here. The production on this one is a bit kind of grainier, a bit muddier than the previous work, and indeed the stuff after. It's just got a real atmosphere to it, man. I absolutely love this thing. Bolt Thrower's best work in my opinion, and I mean, in my opinion, Bolt Thrower never did anything horrible. Some are better than others, but pretty much flawless discography. Number 27 from 1990 this time. I've gone Ferocious with Blasphemy's Fallen Angel of Doom. Of course, this is a war metal essential, an absolute staple. Really gurgly, horrible vocals, ferocious blasting drums. The riffs are super memorable, super kind of stick in your head, despite the really like chaotic, apocalyptic sound that's going on here. You've just got to kind of sit there and listen a bit. The demos might be more suited to you, which is quite surprising, but yeah, just slightly more legible than this one. I feel like the production pushes the drums and everything to the front on here, so it does kind of come across like a wall of noise. Regardless, I love this thing, man. Fallen Angel of Doom by the mighty Blasphemy, out of Canada. Number 26. I couldn't really think of how to kind of leave this one out of here, so I didn't. It came to mind and I was thinking I must have forgotten something, but to be honest, this is what I'm reaching for an awful goddamn lot. This is Morbid Saint with their debut album, Spectrum of Death. This came out in 1989, and this is that nasty, visceral thrash metal that I absolutely love. I preach about it from the rooftops. It's got that kind of almost proto-death metal kind of thing going on. Really kind of nasally, like, screeched vocals. Yeah, it's thrash metal, but it's got just a ton of heart, a ton of like vigor and ferocity, as I keep mentioning. Absolutely fantastic. Riffs for days, super memorable. Solos are fantastic. Drumming is wicked. That band's out of the USA, I believe. And yeah, absolutely stellar stuff, man. Number 25 here. My God, I've remembered the numbers so far. This one needs no introduction. From 1989, this is Terrorizer with their debut album, World Downfall. This is like death grind. It kind of comes across as super punky, kind of political sort of leaning, as you can probably tell from the album cover. It's all, I don't know, very like anti-government, stuff like that. But yeah, this has Pete Sandoval on no, he doesn't do vocals, he certainly doesn't. On drums here, blast beat, D beat, those thrash bars that I love. The drumming sounds absolutely exquisite. It's got that kind of played in a garage sound. David Vincent plays bass on this one as well, I believe. It's just an absolute joy. I do love the D beat though. What's the track? My favourite track on here is, why can't I remember? Oh, Fear of Napalm. The DB drumming on there is absolutely sensational. I'm fucking hopeless with track titles. I got there in the end. World Downfall, Terrorizer, an absolute must-own in my opinion. If you like your death grind, go and check that out. Number 24, another Earache Records pressing, or release in general actually. This is Massacre's debut, From Beyond. This came out in 1991. Obviously, the mighty Cam Lee on vocals on this one. This is pretty much straightforward death metal. If you like Death's early work, it's got that kind of thrashy sound without it sounding too thrashy. It's not like... You couldn't ever say this is a thrash album, put it that way. Cam Lee's vocals are insane. You can hear every word he's saying, but they're super gruff and really recognisable. The riffing is outstanding here, and the drum sound is so loud and just in your face. The sound of the snare and everything like that. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. I love this thing. Favourite track on this one would probably be... I do love the first track, Dawn of Eternity. Biohazard and Chamber of Ages for sure as well. Yeah, super memorable stuff across the board. Ed Repka artwork, of course. Why am I still fucking around with that? Next up, number 23 is, I mean, it's always been one of my favourites ever since I heard it, in the realm of death metal. By the way, lots of death metal on this list, if you couldn't tell already. I am first and foremost a death metal fan, and this is one of my all-time favourites. This is Pestilence, out of the Netherlands, with their sophomore full-length album, Consuming Impulse, from 1989. This has a lot less of the thrash stuff going on than kind of Malleus Maleficarum did, their debut. Still Martin Van Drunen on bass and vocals on this one. Really catchy. The first track, Dehydrated, just lets you know what you're in for. Marauding drums, bass works really twiddly, very good. Martin Van Drunen's vocals sound exceptional on this one. He sounds like a younger man, but he's still got those like pained, just helpless howls that he's so well known for. And yeah, nice tempo changes on this one as well. A bit like his work or their work with Asphyx as well. Just very diverse, but without being too complex. That's absolutely fucking fantastic, man. This is an early pressing of it as well. The earliest pressing, I believe, through Road Racer Records. That's Consuming Impulse at number 23. Number 22. You knew it would be in here somewhere. This is De Mysteris Dom Satanas, or something to that effect, by Mayhem, out of Norway, of course. This came out in 1994. This is their debut album, and yeah, this one is like a love it or hate it job, mainly because of Attila's really bizarre kind of moaned vocals. Almost comes across a bit operatic and sung at times, but not like clean sung by any means. The dude sounds like he's kind of groaning as he's digging himself out of a grave. It's that kind of shit. Absolutely love the guitar sound. Freezing Moon is absolutely my favourite black metal track of all time. I'm just going to go and say that right away. Where Dead Angels Lie by Dissection kind of comes close, but Freezing Moon creeped me out the first time I heard it. Still creeps me out to this day. The solo sounds absolutely mental. If like Funerary Mist could have a sound, it would probably sound something like that. Yeah, I just love this thing, man. Funeral Fog, Freezing Moon, as I said, Pagan Fears, Life Eternal, Buried by Time and Dust. This is a classic for a reason. Number 22, that's Mayhem with De Mysteris Dom Satanas. Perfect pronunciation, as always. Number 21, I couldn't leave this one out either. It just has to be mentioned. This is Sarcophago out of Brazil. You already know it. This is INRI, their debut album, 1987. And this is your proto-war metal. This is that sound from Brazil that just combines every single aspect of extreme music and almost creates a kind of, well, it does create like a black and death metal assault. It's got that infernal sound. Some of the vocal kind of modulation on here brings it to that satanic, like really low level that you hear on like albums like an Ever-Flowing Stream, for example, where it just kind of adds an inhuman touch to things. Sounds like Satan's bellowing from the abyss. The songwriting, despite its ferocity and the blast beats and everything, it's very memorable, very catchy, and very, very kind of legible. There's no part of this that makes you think, God, that was just a noise, basically. This is absolutely stellar. Nightmare's probably my favourite track on here, but yeah, Christ's Death, Death Rash, yeah, Desecration of Virgin, some broken English there as well. You've got to love that on these albums. Sarcophago, INRI, an absolute classic. Well ahead of its time as well, might I add. Number 20. I've gone with the band that's on in the background, if you hadn't already clocked it. This is Dawn of Possession, though, their debut full-length album from 1991. I always state this is my favourite death metal band of all time. I could comfortably say that any day of the week. Absolutely love this band, so consistent across the board, but this first album has so much goddamn charm about it. The songwriting, the early 90s sound, it's just, I don't know, you can almost hear where Ross Dolan's kind of finding his own style with his vocals. He's got such a memorable, such a like instantly sort of, yeah, recognizable signature sound to his voice, and yeah, again, he just sounds like a younger man on this. The track Immolation, which I believe is the last track, it's just so memorable, so well written, absolutely stellar. It's got that kind of weird kind of stop-starty thing that Immolation's known for. It's quite erratic and all over the place, but yeah, it's got to be in here, man. I could rave about that band all day long, and I tell you what, I'll fit in what's on in the background while I'm on. I've got on their 2013 album, Kingdom of Conspiracy. It's getting a repress finally on vinyl through Nuclear Blast Records in September. I will be grabbing it. This was the first Immolation album I heard. So yeah, that's what you're listening to as I chat shit at you. Next up, at number 19, we've got the mighty Autopsy with their sophomore full-length album, 1991, Mental Funeral. Autopsy, one of my all-time favourite bands. Again, Chris Reifert on drums and vocals. This one sounds utterly disgusting. It's just got that real nasty, smelly, like ghastly edge that just, it sounds like you can almost smell what this thing kind of smells like through the sound of the music. It's just that muddy production, the punky kind of almost sloppy drum work, the doomy kind of approach that they add to this, creating like a really uneasy atmosphere. I love it, man. It's absolute swamp music. Brilliant, brilliant stuff. I could easily have put Seven Survival there instead, but Mental Funeral's always been the one that I gravitate towards a little more. Next up, you may be wondering why this is so low down, but yeah. Possessed, Seven Churches from 1985. The earliest of death metal sounds, arguably. This is their debut. And yeah, Possessed have a very thrashy sound. I came to Possessed obviously a little bit later, like I'd heard Autopsy and some of the kind of more established death metal stuff by the time I heard this. So I just didn't kind of, it didn't resonate with me quite as much. And I mean, I've enjoyed it way more as I keep listening to it. As I've gotten to this point, I am, as I say, 28 coming up. So I've had plenty of time now to digest it. And like, when I first started listening to death metal and stuff, this would have been nowhere near one of my favourite albums. But yeah, I got my fucking head on my arse. And yeah, I've just persevered with it. And at this point, it's absolutely one of my favourites. The Exorcist is one of the best death metal tracks, if not best tracks ever written, in my opinion as well. But yeah, tracks like Pentagram to Burning in Hell, Seven Churches, obviously. Just stellar. Death metal, where we indeed coined the term. Love that thing, man. Possessed, Seven Churches, not one to be ignored. I'm still faffing around with these sleeves, but it's going alright, so I'll just see what happens. Next up, I've gone with a slightly rogue one, but I mean, every time I'll hear this thing, it just reminds me again and again that I absolutely love it. This is Burzum with his, I want to say third full-length album. I could be wrong there. Second or third. Entitled Hvis Lyset Tar Os. Perfect pronunciation. Out of Norway, obviously. This is Varg's black metal project. This is super atmospheric though. I absolutely adore this album. It's only got 4 or 5 tracks on this one, I believe. Fuck knows. It's only got a few tracks anyway, and they're all very, very long. We've got a bit of ambient stuff going on here as well. But for me, the ambient stuff works the best on this album. That takes me away from Philosophem a little bit, just because there's so much of the ambient stuff and it's so repetitive. This one, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just written better to me or if just my ears kind of prick up a little bit more with it. But yeah, I just love this thing, man. The riff on Det som en gang var, the first track, is absolutely infectious. If you know, you know. Yeah, Burzum Vis Lyset Tartos from 1992, I think. Perhaps I'm butchering my information already, but it's fine. You can Google it quite easily. Next up, again, you'll be wondering why it's so low, but at least it's on here, boys. This is Cannibal Corpse, Eaten Back to Life, 1990, debut album. Chris Barnes on vocals here, obviously. This is Cannibal Corpse in their thrashiest form. They haven't quite established that Cookie Monster sound and the really kind of low-tuned stuff. This kind of sounds like a thrash metal album. A little bit more grime with kind of growled vocals, but you can hear everything Chris Barnes is saying here. It's not that like really gurgly sort of sound that we became accustomed to on like Butchered at Birth, Tomb of the Mutilated. Yeah, absolutely love this thing, man. Mangled, Skull Full of Maggots, Edible Autopsy. Just so many bangers on this. Love the artwork. Absolutely love the old logo as well. I was pleased to get a copy of this one. This is a back on black repress, which for some reason managed to get the early logo, but whatever. I'm not going to argue. I like the look of it a lot. But yeah, this is an absolute classic. My favourite Cannibal Corpse album. Swiftly followed by Tomb of the Mutilated, I would say. The first 3 albums are absolutely my favourites, and I do indeed like the 4th album too, but for me, I can hear too much of Chris Barnes' current sound in his vocals. Same with Haunted by 6 Feet Under. Like, it's not a bad album, but he's starting to lose it, unfortunately. But I digress. Number 15 next. I've gone with this one by Nile. This is Amongst the Catacombs of Nephron Ka, their debut album from 1998. This, like all of Nile's stuff to be fair, but this one in particular just really captures the sound of ancient Egypt. Pharaohs, sphinxes, pyramids, mummies, all that good shit. Just makes you want to get on your fucking hands and knees and worship cats. Absolutely fantastic stuff. The guitar sound, the atmosphere, the sound clips, they use certain instruments to capture that sound. It sounds like you're in Egypt, yet it's got all that bludgeoning ferocity, devastating blast beats and double kicks, grunts, growls, nasty riffs. Fantastic stuff. I love that thing. Frankly, I like everything Nile has ever done. Even At the Gates of Sethu, which, I mean, production-wise is not the best. Still a great album in my opinion. I'm an easy guy to please when it comes to Nile, that's for sure. Next up, number 14 this time. Another thrash album, and another one that will rip off your balls and stuff them in your mouth. This is Creator out of Germany with their second full-length album entitled Pleasure to Kill. This came out in 1986, and as I say, this is like foot on your skull, kind of stabbing you in the gut thrash metal. Really ferocious, close to that death metal sound. Bands like Cannibal Corpse have cited this album specifically as kind of influencing factors, or an influencing factor, I should say, for their sound. And you can really see why. It's bludgeoning, it's raw, it's fast, it's punchy. It just feels like you've been set on fire over and over again, and then pissed on and set on fire all over again. Absolutely stellar album. Pleasure to Kill, Creator. An album worthy of celebration, that's for sure. Number 13, trying to rattle through this a little bit quicker. I've gone with the Netherlands again, this time with Sinister's Cross the Sticks. This is their debut album before the mighty Diabolical Summoning, but this album is so good. It's an absolute joy to listen to if you like that kind of almost that New York style of death metal. It's not quite brutal, but it's definitely kind of dragged itself away from that thrash sound. I love the guitars on this thing. The lead work particularly is stunning. Vocals are fantastic. Love the lyrics as well. Definitely worth listening along with the lyrics. The songwriting is absolutely outstanding. Underrated classic in my opinion. And it just gets better and better for me with every single goddamn listen. Sinister, Cross the Sticks. Go and get that in your ear holes if you haven't already. Number 12. Quite a lot of Swedish stuff coming up, so buckle up, motherfuckers. This next up is Carnage with Dark Recollections, 1990. This is their debut and only album, and this is like the chunkiest of the Swedish sound, if that makes sense. This is absolutely devastating stuff. The HM2 guitar sound, the production, it just creates like a maelstrom of like absolute Armageddon. It's so cool. It's so memorable. Torn Apart is, again, one of the best tracks of all time in my opinion. It's got that kind of melody that the Stockholm sound really needs, otherwise they're relying too heavily on that buzzsaw sound. This is absolutely wonderful, man. Carnage, Dark Recollections, obviously pre-Dismember, and arguably pre-Arch Enemy as well, if you want to go from one of the band members, but I digress. Next up, number 11, out of Finland this time. Stated often, this is absolutely one of my favourite albums of all time in general. This is Demigod's Slumber of Sullen Eyes from 1992. Recently just saw Wyatt X Him talk about this one, and yeah, absolutely justified. I'd been waiting for over a decade for this to get a repress. Very happy to finally have it. This is that Finnish sound, but it's got that kind of weirdness about it, but just enough so that it's not like, what the fuck is this? It's not like listening to Demolik, for example. Doesn't have too much of that kind of doomy stuff that the Finnish style often incorporates with bands like Rippikulu, for example. But yeah, the songwriting again is so catchy. It's one of those albums where you'll get a riff stuck in your head in the middle of your work day and you'll be wondering where the fuck it came from. You'll put this back on, you'll be like, all 6 of those riffs I've been humming all week were from this. Just a sign of a great album. Fantastic artwork as well. Yeah, great debut album. Pretty much a one and done. I'm pretty sure they had one after this and it was not up to snuff. But regardless, very, very good album. Number 10, into the nitty gritty now. Back to Sweden with Entombed's Left Hand Path, debut full-length album. You all know it, you don't need me to tell you what it is. This is a legendary album. I can't remember if I said this is from 1990, but it is. Yeah, Swedish sound, buzzsaw and guitar, pretty much coined it aside from like the Nihilist stuff a little bit earlier. LG Petrov is at the peak of his powers on this one in my opinion. Drumming is splendid. Love the kind of tempo changes. The sort of Phantasm section in Left Hand Path, the opening track, is stunning. They kind of bring in a bit of like melodic lead work to go alongside the Phantasm sort of theme tune, and it just works beautifully. My other favourite track on here is Bitter Loss. I love the sound of the guitars mixed with the drumming on that. But yeah, I digress. Y'all know it, and if you don't, not even sure how you came across me on YouTube. But yeah, go and listen to it if you haven't. More Swedish death metal now. Number 9, Like an Ever-Flowing Stream by Dismember. This has swiftly made its way to the top of the pile for me when it comes to Swedish death metal. I've always loved it, but the more I listen to it, as I keep listening to it, the more I appreciate it. As I keep getting older as well, it's still getting better and better, which again is just the sign of an album that's not only standing the test of time, but actually just getting better and better with time. The opening track, one of the best tracks of all time. Yet again, lots of hyperbole over here today, but I absolutely stand by it. Override of the Overture is just, you'll know immediately what I mean. Just listen to it, you'll be like, your brain just clicks on like, yeah, it's fucking great. Another track that I really love on here is Sickening Art think that's a really underappreciated track from this one. It's got everything you could possibly want. Absolutely fantastic. Debut album, 1991, I believe that one was. Stellar stuff. Get a load of that band photo as well. One of the best to do it. Next up, I've cheated a little bit here because I'm not really sure I consider this to be extreme metal, but I'm putting it in anyway, mainly because of the production on this one. This is Venom's sophomore black metal from 1983, 1982. I'll say 82, and then you can correct me if I'm wrong. This is a band out in Newcastle, my neck of the woods. And yeah, they play speed metal mixed with sort of new wave of British heavy metal. But the, I don't know, the speed, ferocity and kind of gritty production sort of gives this a blackened edge along with Kronos' vocal performance. So I'm going to count it anyway. I love this thing. This is one I throw on when I don't have a clue what the hell else to listen to. I'll just say, meh, fuck it, I'll put black metal on. I know I love it, I can have a fun time with it all the time. Lots of variety on it with the like slower tracks. We've got a bit of a ballad, well, as kind of Venom ballads go, I suppose. But yeah, absolutely stellar, man. And the title track is, again, one of my favourite tracks ever. That was number 8. Number 7, back to the Netherlands, giving them plenty of love today. I guess I feel bad for England smashing them out of the Euros. But yeah, this is Asphyx with their sophomore full-length album from 1992, entitled Last One on Earth. Death Doom done absolutely fucking fantastically. You talk about like devastating guitar sounds. You'd mentioned Mortician that I showed earlier. I always mention this band alongside them. It's so fuzzy and dense and claustrophobic. It feels like someone's like reaching their fist down your throat just to rip your organs out, but kind of just leaving it in there and just letting you kind of like suffocate. Absolutely stunning. It just feels like it's all clogging up your like mouth and nose, stopping you from breathing. Riff work stunning, again cloaked and veiled behind that guitar sound. Martin Van Drunen sounds epic as all hell. One of my all-time favourites. Love this thing, man. Last One on Earth, Asphyx. Up there with the big hitters, as you will see with number 6 here. The album that the channel is indeed named after. You had to see it here. Morbid Angel, Altars of Madness, 1989. Of course, this is one of the most celebrated albums in the subgenre, and for good reason. Thrash sound is exceptional. Dave's vocals are at the peak of their powers on this one. Really evil and almost blackened. The drumming is exceptional. Pete Sandoval, of course, on drums, and at least on vocals again. I'm just dying for that guy to do some vocals. Trey Azagthoth on guitars. Lead works so recognisable. It's just like a trademark sound that Trey's got. Trademark. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. Love the solos on this one. All the tracks are memorable. Of course, Immortal Rites, Suffocation, Visions from the Dark Side, Maze of Torment. I mean, I could rave about that thing all day. There's no messing about here. No kind of meandering, no stalling. It's just straight to the fucking point. Altars of Madness at number 6. Number 5, top 5 now. Hoping the kind of memory is able to withstand this chunky ass video. But next up, we've got Show No Mercy by Slayer. Slayer had to be on here. Kind of godfathers of extreme metal, you could argue, because of their kind of meteoric sort of rise to the like forefront of extreme metal. Like the guitar sound changed, the drumming got more extreme almost immediately after this one. But this one, it's got the thrash kind of staple. It's got the like thrash style, like stylistic components, but it's got that kind of really traditional sounding new wave of British heavy metal sound as well, which is what I absolutely love about this one. Tracks like Black Magic, my favourite track on here, The Antichrist, which is again one of the best tracks ever written. Yeah, Evil Has No Boundaries, Die by the Sword. It's just memorable across the board, man. Slayer, Show No Mercy. You're probably wondering what the fuck beats out Slayer. You're about to find out. over to Canada next, number 4. Struggled between this one and Blasphemy Made Flesh, but this one is just always going to beat it out. 1996's Cryptopsy's Non So Vile. Came out the year I was born, and yeah, this pretty much blasted me out of the womb. This is absolutely despicable stuff. Ferocious, technical, barbaric, in your face, insatiable, ravening. Lord Worm's vocals are truly haunting. He does this scream that just, he sounds like a pterodactyl or something, and then it just kind of stops immediately. There's no, like, I don't know, drawn out. It's insane. You'll know exactly what I mean. He does that rather well, don't you think? Slit Your Guts, Crown of Horns, Graves of the Fathers, Dead and Dripping, Phobophile, Benedictine Convulsions. All of this shit is phenomenal. The drumming's outstanding. Flo Mounier on drums. Dude sounds like he's got about 16 arms. Yeah, check it out if you haven't already. And I don't know what the hell you've been doing if you haven't checked it out, because if anything they'll make you check that album out, it's the album art, and if it hasn't, I don't know what to tell you. You're beyond help. Number 3, Transylvanian Hunger for me. This is a really kind of uniquely atmospheric black metal album. It's raw, it's frostbitten, it's kind of vampiric. Of course, we've got the high, well, sort of mid-register kind of screams. We've got the kind of tremolo picking that's very, very, very repetitive. We've got the kind of Norwegian lyrics for the most part across the board, which for some reason makes this a little bit more mysterious to kind of ignorant Englishmen like myself. The title track on here is by far my favourite. The way he kind of moves from screaming Transylvanian Hunger straight back into that main repetitive riff is just hair-raising. Goosebumps all over the shop. Absolutely ferocious stuff. Just a great album. My favourite straightforward black metal album, I would say, by far. However, you could be considering this one a black metal album for sure. 1984, Bathory. Bit like Venom, one of the kind of forefathers of black metal, one of the kind of, I don't know, the influencing factors, but again, speed metal in here, there's black metal in here, there's thrash metal in here. Quothon's vocals are absolutely blackened, they're kind of nasally screams, very high-pitched as well. Gritty production, yet again, a bit like Venom's, and a bit like black metal. If I don't know what I want to throw on, this one just ends up on the turntable. I'm like, yeah, I know it's fucking great, I know I'll have a great time with it. Bathory. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that for me. Number 2 that was, which tells you all you need to know. It's a pretty short one, that, if you're not familiar. But, yeah, it's always been a staple, and it's always going to be ever since I heard it. And you know exactly where I'm going with number 1. You knew it was coming, I don't need to talk about it. Death's Leprosy, 1988, sophomore album. Every track on here is a banger. No interludes, no messing about, no intros. It's all just guitars, drums, Chuck's vocals. Absolutely hilarious kind of lyricism, in my opinion. It just, when I'm reading along, it's just so poetic and so well written. Everything rhymes and everything, but the things he's singing about are so like absurdly gross. It's just great, man. Really nihilistic and just a great time. It's so fun. Choke on It has like a bit of a cartoon kind of vampire head bobbing sort of thing going on as well, so there's lots to be getting your teeth stuck into here. Drumming, some of my favourite of all time. The lead work's absolutely exceptional. Yeah, Death, Leprosy. You don't need me to say anything about it. You don't need me to rave any more about it than I already do. And that concludes that. I hope you enjoyed that. Bit of a longer form video. But I thought I might as well do something special, seeing as though I've surpassed the 3,000 subs mark. I won't do that again, so yeah, why not celebrate it while it's here. Here's to many more kind of subs. I really do appreciate you guys so much. The subs have been coming in even though I've been pretty silent as well. I don't know if that's from over Questy's side or what, but yeah, cheers again to all of those channels I mentioned. Thank you so much for viewing, commenting, liking, disliking, talking your shit. I love to see it, man. Take care as always, and I will catch yous in the next one.